Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let's continue with the chapter Reaching the Age of Adolescence. This is the second theory session of this chapter, and in the earlier session I explained you about the secondary growth in the human beings. Right. Now in today's session I will explain you about the sex determination and how the health should be maintained during the secondary period, or I can say during the puberty. See, you all have studied that each individual body is made up of cells, right? And all the each function of our body is coded by some specific structures which are known as the genes. So initially we can say the information of all our body functions, they are coded by the genes. Where these genes are present? They are located on the chromosomes, right? So in the case of higher organisms, the number of chromosomes is more than one, right? In the case of human beings, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. You must be knowing that in these organisms, higher organisms, the chromosomes are not presented just as a single set. See how the reproduction is taking place here. It is by sexual reproduction, right? So one set of chromosomes is provided by the ovum, and second set is provided by the sperm. So when this sperm and ovum is fusing together, it is forming these chromosomes in the pairs. So overall there are 23 pairs of chromosomes in the nucleus of their cells, right? Out of these 23 pairs, there are 22 pairs which are coding for the somatic parts of our body. That means for the general body structure, the general body functions, they are coded by some 22 pairs of chromosomes. Now there is one single pair which is left out. This single pair is actually known as the sex chromosome. This sex chromosome is responsible for determining the sex of the organism. That means the individual, it is going to be a male or a female. It depends upon this particular pair. Well, this pair of sex chromosome in male is not identical to each other. See, there are two sets, it is present in a pair, right? So out of this, one set is, one is different from the another one. One of it is known as the X chromosome and the other one is known as the Y chromosome. This X chromosome is a normal sized chromosome, whereas the Y chromosome is quite short and it is somewhat tilted at its one end also. Fine. Besides this, in the case of females, each chromosome in pair is identical to each other. That means they are constituted by two X chromosomes. So this pair of sex chromosome in males is denoted as XY, whereas in the case of females it is denoted as the XX, right? Now further, during reproduction, what will happen? These chromosomes, the cells are producing the gametes, right? Now gametes, they are going to have a single chromosome out of this. Let us say this is one cell, right? In a cell, this X and Y chromosome is present along with those 22 pairs, mind it. Fine. So when the gametes are produced, these pairs, they are distributed among the different daughter cells, right? So one of the cell, it will take up the X chromosome, while the another one will take the Y chromosome. And of course, out of 22 pairs, 11 chromosomes will go in one of the cell or one of the gametes, and the other 11 will go in other. So now what will be the composition? See, if this is a mother cell, or I can say this is a germ cell, so it is having which type of chromosome? X and Y in its nucleus, right? So when these will produce the gametes, so what will happen? Some of them will take up X chromosome, the other will take up the Y chromosome, and plus beside this X there will be 11 other chromosomes, because how many pair of chromosomes are present? There are 22 plus 1 this chromosome, sex chromosome. So these gametes are having 11 plus 1 X, and other gamete will have 11 chromosomes plus this one Y chromosome, right? So this is how these gametes are now having a single set of chromosomes. In the case of females, when this this egg cell, when this cell, a germ cell is getting, it is producing the gametes, then what will happen? Each will have the X chromosome, because all these are having the single type of chromosome only, isn't it? Now this is how the male and female gametes are having the single set of chromosomes. Now what will happen during the reproduction? We have to find out that what will be the gender of the individual, the newborn baby. We have to determine this. So how we can determine it? How you can guess this particular point? Let's see. See, the sexual reproduction, it takes place because of the fusion of the male and the female gamete, right? Now, if I say that the male gamete, right, this is, let us say it is a male gamete, right, which is having the chromosome X. Now, if this particular cell, it fuses with the female gamete having the female is denoted with the plus sign, right? So if it is fusing with this female gamete, what will happen? A zygote is formed, right? These two are fusing together and they are forming a single cell in which both X chromosomes are present. Now what this these two X chromosomes denote? That the individual is going to be a female. Got my point? Further, in case if the sperm is having the Y chromosome, and if this cell fuses with the X type of gamete in the female, then what will happen? The new zygote which is produced will have X and Y chromosomes both. Now, in which organism this XY chromosome is present? It is present in the male. So this is how the zygote, the sex of the zygote, the type of the zygote will depend upon the type of gamete which is getting fused with the female gamete, right? So it is the male gamete which actually decides the sex of the child. Because females, they are never having these chromosomes for the male gender, isn't it? So now this type of sex determination is actually known as XXXY type of sex determination. I will show you one picture so that this point will become much more clear. See, this is the male, right? And it is having X and Y chromosomes. Whereas female is having this gamete which is having only X chromosome, right? So in case if this X type of chromosome or the sperm will fuse with this female gamete, it will produce the female child. Whereas if it fuses with this, if this Y chromosome fuses with this X gamete, then it will produce the male child. So now it is clear that mother is never responsible for the sex of her body. This myth or this belief where the people are blaming females for this particular point, it is totally unjustified. So students, after the sex determination, let me explain some other hormones which are secreted by our body. In the earlier session, I explained you about the sex hormones, right? So now let's see what are some other hormones which are secreted by us. So students, you remember these hormones, how they are defined? Hormones are the chemical messengers which are secreted by the specific glands, right? And these hormones, they are actually controlling the growth and other important body functions of our body. Now these hormones, as I said, that they are secreted by the glands, right? Now if there are some glands which are secreting the hormones directly into the bloodstream, whereas there are some other glands which are having a duct. So through these duct they will transfer the or they will transport the secretion or the hormones to the target site through these duct or the tubular structure, right? So in this case, in our syllabus, what we are studying is the specific glands which are secreting the hormones directly into the bloodstream. And such glands, They are known as the endocrine glands. Now you can just imagine this thing. If it is drained into the bloodstream, then it can be circulate up to the long distance also. So such type of these hormones, they are having a target site which is far away from its secretion site. Now there are different types of endocrine glands in our body, and altogether all these endocrine glands, they will constitute the endocrine system. You know what are these common endocrine glands? They are like hypothalamus, pineal body, pituitary gland, parathyroid, thyroid, and thymus glands, which are present here in the throat region. Then there is the adrenal gland, then pancreas. You know, this liver, it is an example of exocrine gland, right? Further, there is ovary in the females, then there is testes in the males. All these are the common endocrine glands which are present in the individual body. Now just see here in this picture, I have labeled ovary as well as testes in the same diagram, but actually it is never so. Both these are not present together in the same organism. Either an individual will have the testes or they will have the ovary, right? So females are having female at this particular location, that means in the lower abdominal side, right? Whereas the males are having testes in the outside the abdominal cavity, that is inside the scrotum, right? So this is how these glands are present here. Now I will show you one table which is just summarizing the basic functions of some important glands. So one of the important endocrine gland is the pituitary gland. It is also known as the master gland. This is because it is secreting the specific hormones which is controlling the different functions, and along with that it also secretes some other hormones which are regulating the secretion of hormones from all different endocrine glands. That means it is regulating the function of all other endocrine glands. Thus it is known as the master gland. Now one of the example of the hormone which is secreted by this pituitary gland is the growth hormone. And you have studied about this growth hormone, right? This growth hormone, it participates in the development of the bones and the muscles, and this is why it also helps in the increase in the height and weight of the organism. Then there is the trophic hormones. As I said, that there are the hormones which help in the circulation or the regulation of the other function of other endocrine glands. So it is this particular hormone. So other glands are controlled by this particular hormone, right? Further, there is the gland known as the thyroid gland, which is present in the throat region of our body. The hormone which is secreted by this is the thyroxine. You know what is the function of this thyroxine hormone? It actually regulates the metabolism of carbohydrate, fat, and proteins. Now, this metabolism, you know what is metabolism? Metabolism is a series of chemical reactions by which the specific molecules in our body are converted into the other form. Now, these can be either constitutive, right, or they can be, or destructing, right? That means it can be related to either carbohydrate formation or its breakdown into simple form. So in this case, thyroxine is actually participating in the regulation of the metabolism of these organic compounds. It is observed that this particular hormone, it is functional only when it is bound with the iodine. If iodine is not present, then the active thyroxine is not present, right? And in that case, of course, such deficiency of iodine can lead to a particular disease which is known as the goiter. It causes the swelling in the neck region and is causing the inability of the metabolism of these compounds. Further, the next gland is the adrenal gland, which is secreting the specific hormone which is known as adrenaline and the corticoids. These hormones, specifically this adrenaline, it is known as the emergency hormone. It helps in the defense of the body in the emergency situation. Sometimes you must have observed that in some conditions you become so hyper, you become so excited, or you just cry out of sorrow, or you just yell on someone, or you become so happy that you start jumping, right? So such type of hyper activities, right, they are actually because of the hormones secreted by our body, by the adrenal gland, that is known as adrenaline. Besides this corticoid, they actually help in the regulation of blood pressure, heart rate, carbohydrate, and the mineral balance. Besides that, the another gland is pancreas. This pancreas is it is secreting the hormone which is known as insulin. I'm sorry. This insulin actually help in the lowering of the blood glucose, right? Whatever, see, the glucose, if the excess of glucose is present in our blood, then it will be converted into the glycogen. It will be stored into the glycogen in our body. And this conversion of glucose to glycogen is actually controlled by the insulin. Now just imagine if the insulin is not produced in our body, it is not secreted by the glands in our body, what will happen? The glucose will increase, the level of blood glucose will it will increase, and this situation is known as the diabetes. So deficiency of this hormone insulin, it can lead to the disease known as diabetes. Further, the another gland is testes. This is a male gonad and it secretes the specific hormone, that is testosterone. So we have studied about this testosterone. In short, it regulates the male sex organs or accessory sex organs and the secondary sexual characteristics in the males. Right? That means it helps in the building up or the development of the reproductive sex organs as well as the secondary features in the puberty. Next one is the ovary, and this ovary is secreting the hormone which is known as estrogen and the progesterone. So as the testosterone is having the particular function in the males, similar function is performed in females by these hormones. These hormones, they regulate the female accessory sex organs, or we can say it helps in the maturation or the development of the reproductive organs of the females. And besides this, it also helps in the development of the secondary sexual characteristics in the females. Now, after studying these some of these hormones, now let us study about the reproductive health, maintenance of the reproductive health of an individual. So this health, the word health, it is defined as the state of physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. Now, of course, there is a condition which is known as a disease condition. In that case, a person is having some pathogen or some reason due to which the abnormal symptoms are generated by our body, like fever or something. So that is something related to disease. But normally you must have observed that even when there is no such symptom, a person is not behaving properly. Right, there is a irritational behavior or something. So that condition is known as a poor health. Now the thing is, when we consider health, then of course it has to be maintained by some important points. The good health or it can be maintained by a proper nutrition. That means if when you are hungry, you are not able to perform the basic all your activities in a proper way. So nutrition is one of the important factor which is affecting the health. Then is a hygiene. Then of course exercise and other good habits which can actually maintain a good health of a person. Now when this health is related to related to this reproductive health, then exactly what we mean by this is that during the puberty there are many behavioral changes taking place in an individual. Right, the body is growing, so the nutritional requirement is also more. Fine. Similarly, since they are developing new features in their body, so they are showing some different type of characteristics in their behavior. Besides this, the emotional level is also changing. The behavior towards the opposite sex is also getting changed. So during this, a proper health is to be maintained, which is possible by some basic practices. Let us see what are these important factors which are affecting the reproductive health. Mind one thing, this reproductive health is not only related to the condition which is free of disease, but it is related to the well functioning of the body, right? So let's see what are the important points related to this point. See, the very first factor that affects the reproductive health is the nutrition. The nutritional needs of the adolescents is quite different from those of children or the adult person. At this stage, there is a rapid physical and mental growth, right? And even the body function is varying at a very different level. So at this age, the nutritional requirements of body also increases. Now, as this nutritional requirement is increased, a person feels more hungry at times. So, one thing should be kept in mind that whatever food we are eating, it should include a balanced diet. That means a meal is there in which the different essential nutrients are present in the sufficient proportions, which are supporting the growth of an individual. Now, what is this balanced meat? A balanced diet. A balanced diet in which all nutritional essential nutrients are present in a particular proportion. Now, what these components are? The components of the balanced diet, it includes the protein, carbohydrate, fat, vitamins, minerals, water, etc. Now, of course, at this age, since the growth is taking place, so for that more amount of protein is required as compared to the carbohydrate or the fat. So it should be rich in the proteins. Now, examples of such diet which should be given to adolescent is it includes like milk, then green leafy vegetables should be there, meat, citrus fruits, cereals, pulses, and all other things which are supplying such type of nutrients. Right. Milk is a rich source of calcium, and you must be knowing that in our bones there is the presence of the calcium, isn't it? So this milk is sufficiently fulfilling this basic requirement, and this is why it is said that milk should be taken twice a day at this period. Of course, it should be taken throughout the life, but during this period it is essentially required. Now, besides calcium, it is also supplying vitamin D and proteins. Right. Then the green leafy vegetables are the rich sources of minerals. Right. In this case, I can say one important point that in the females, especially, since they are showing the menstrual cycles, that is, there is a loss of blood from our body. So, iron-rich diet should be given to them. And these green leafy vegetables, they are one of the richest source of the iron. Besides that, meat. It is again a rich source of protein and other essential requirements. So these are basically fulfilling such type of demand of our body, nutritional demand of our body. Uh, Further, the important point is the personal hygiene, right? At this age, that is during this adolescence period, person are actually they're having the sweating problem, right? See, in this case, the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands, they are becoming more active, right? Due to which there is more sweat which is released by the body. There is the oil or the sebum which is secreted by the body, right? So it happens that in this sweat or in the sebum, the bacteria, it can multiply rapidly, and due to such bacterial growth, the sweat is of the person is having a bad odor. So due to such problem, a proper hygiene, a proper cleaning is required. Besides this, due to such type of growth, there is the generation of acne and the pimples also. So these problems can be actually avoided. You know how? Of course, you must be knowing it is by the proper cleaning and bathing, and especially wearing the sun-dried clothes, right? There should be no moisture in the clothes, whatever we are wearing. And the reason is because in the moist conditions, the bacterial growth is quite fast, isn't it? So, completely dry clothes should be worn by the person. Further, if the smell is or the odor is very bad or it is very prominent, then a proper mild deodorant can be used. Besides this, the person should keep the genital areas very clean, else it can become a reason for the infection. Fine. So avoid these urinary infection or the reproductive infections of reproductive path. These areas, they should be cleaned properly. When the acne or pimples are generated, they should never be pricked away or they should not be squeezed. People generally do because they feel that they are affecting their appearance. But students, it should not be done. You know why? Because if this practice is followed, it can cause the permanent scarring in that particular part. So, never prick or squeeze the pimple or the acne of your skin. For that, actually, if you have to prevent this pimples or all this, then for that you should wash the face more often, and that too with a mild non-oily oily soap, right? And if still the problem is persisting, you can go for the medical attention or medical help also, right? Now, regarding girls, one important point I should mention here, and it is that we should use sanitary pads during the menstrual cycle. You know, traditionally it was a trend that the people, they were using the cloth in during this menstrual periods, right? And this cloth is, I will never say it's a hygienic part. They used to use this cloth, and then they just wash it and they reuse it. But this is not a good and hygienic practice. Just avoid this use of cloth, and sanitary pads should be used, and that too of a good company, or they should be well enough, right? They should be they should not be local. It should be authorized by some specific company. Further, the next habit that should be adopted in this period is the physical exercise. Of course, exercise is it's a very important part of our life, not only in adolescent period, but of course throughout the life. But during this period, if you have to keep yourself fit and healthy, this exercising, walking, playing in fresh air is actually recommended. After that, there is another point regarding these good habits, and that is saying no to the drugs. At this period, people are actually more curious. They want to try more or different things. But during this curiosity, never go for drugs. You know what are these drugs? They are the chemical substances that can produce the physical, mental, behavioral changes in our body. Basically, they are having a direct effect on the nervous system. Initially, they just people just use them as a part of their curiosity, and gradually they will observe that it has become an addiction. So this addiction is a habit which is developed in a person for a particular thing, and is really very very dangerous, because in such condition, if we don't get these drugs, then of course we are facing very serious problems, right? So it is suggested that never go for such type of habits. Some common examples of drugs are like alcohol, nicotine, which is present in the tobacco products like cigarettes, gutka, pan masala, then other things are like cocaine, marijuana. All these are affecting our nervous system, and they become the cause for many serious diseases in our life. You know, they can actually harm the body in the long run. Initially you enjoy, right? There is no doubt, but slowly you will see that in the long term, in the long run, it can ruin your health and your happiness. It can destroy your family. So students, never go for such habits. uh, These drugs are either taken orally or they are taken through the injections. So it is observed that the people who are addicted to the drugs, they are more prone to catch the deadly virus, especially the HIV. How this HIV spread, very well, right? It can spread through the unsafe sexual contact from mother to their child during breastfeeding or during the pregnancy period, or it can even be spread through the used needles. If the needles are used for a AIDS patient and the same is used up by the healthy person, the virus can spread. And in this case, when the drugs are often taken, used by the person, then definitely it can become a reason for the transmission of HIV. So just keep this thing in your mind, that never indulge in such type of habits. This is a growing period. Enjoy this phase and just look forward for your future. So this is all about the chapter. Further, I will come back with the next chapter. Till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.